A number of things happened during COVID that changed the world. Not the disease itself, of course, which turned out to be problematic and serious, but not disastrous. No. It was the way that our leaders purposely, methodically, and with malice lied to us in a way that made it more difficult for us to make important decisions in our lives. Now, this had been going on a smaller scale for quite a long time, but COVID really brought this phenomenon out into the open once and for all. Before COVID, for example, I would never have believed that our law enforcement agencies would fake crime statistics in order to support a political agenda. Now, there are those of us out there who weren't all that surprised by what happened during COVID, or by what's going on now in the cities to cover up crime. Too many of those who were proven absolutely right on COVID have since, unfortunately, plunged off the unsubstantiated conspiracy theory cliff to the point they're no more credible than the so-called COVID scientists. Now, recently, Donald Trump has been sending troops into various cities to stop the enormous wave of violence that's been washing over these places. Never mind the documented violent attacks on federal agents in those cities that are being tacitly supported by local police leadership who simply don't show up for these crimes. The crime rates themselves, while probably down a bit from the defund the police movement during COVID, are still shockingly high. The thing about it is, we really don't know what the crime rates in these cities are because we are being lied to by the leadership of these cities and in some cases by the police themselves. Not only are they working with their henchmen in the legacy media to make sure that crime is covered up, they're also literally doctoring the books by downgrading crimes that would otherwise make them look bad to hide the crime waves they are currently experiencing. Recently, a member of the Washington, D.C. police force was caught red-handed, ordering officers to downgrade crimes to make them look less severe. A criminal who fired a gun at someone and happened to miss had his offense downgraded from an assault with a dangerous weapon to endangerment with a firearm, the latter of which, not coincidentally, is not classified as a violent crime. A teenager who hit someone on the back of the head, causing them to drop their phone, which was subsequently picked up and taken by the attacker, becomes simple assault instead of robbery. Magically, this also is not a violent crime. This kind of thing is happening in Democrat-controlled cities all across the country. Now, more objective information is showing that crime rates are not quite as high as they were post-COVID, but that the difference between crime rates inside and outside cities is spiking. In other words, while many places are becoming safer, cities are becoming relatively more dangerous. At some point, I imagine the Supreme Court will decide whether or not Trump's mobilization of the National Guard in these cities is legal. I sure hope it remains legal to protect ICE agents who are being openly attacked with no consequences from local forces, but time will tell. Look at it from his point of view. The cities are not protecting ICE agents. They're lying about an increasingly disastrous crime wave that is endangering their own residents. Now, he ran on a platform of law and order. This, to him, seems like the only way to follow through on that promise. Like I said, the courts will sort this out eventually. But what kind of dystopian nightmare have we created for ourselves when crime waves go unreported, even though it is obvious to everyone in these cities that they exist? Well, who are you going to believe? City officials or your own eyes?